The movie we are reviewing today is Unbroken Path to Redemption. This is a movie that is based on a true story and real life events. This movie starts in Japan, Tokyo, Sugamo prison. Luis Zampirini is staring at the entrance of the prison gate with intensity before he makes his way in. He wanted a prisoner named the Bird. We are taken way back in another scene when Louis returned home. Louis initially was announced dead after World War II, only that the government did not know that all this time he was alive and he was a prisoner in Japan. While he was in Japan, he faced so much. But after some time, he came back home. His family was so excited. They had been told that he died. So seeing him again was such a great delight. Before he joined the army, he was a renowned runner. He won so many competitions through running. And while he was away serving in the war, many fans wrote letters to the family asking when he would be returning back to running. In the trials he had been through, his faith in God withered. He doesn't think God is there, and he does not think that God kept him alive. He didn't know he still had trauma until when the family played a loving message that the military sent them when they thought he was dead. It was a message he had recorded also, thinking this was going to be it. While they were listening to the message, everyone in the family was smiling, hearing his voice speak on the tap. But the more he heard the sound of his voice, the more he was triggered, and he demanded they turn it off. But no one took him seriously until he just picked the CD and crushed it. Silence filled the room. He walked out. His brother followed him. That night, as he slept, Louis kept having nightmares of his time as a prisoner of war in Japan, when the god, the bird, is torturing him, and the hell that he had to go through. Almost dead at sea, tormented in that prison cell, he was awakened by a knock on the door. He was celebrated by the country as a hero who has returned home. They thought he was dead, and now he's alive. So he was invited to make appearances on different stages, speaking to the masses on how he survived and the life he lived. People wanted to know. The army people took him on different stages. Everyone wanted to know how he made it alive. Even though the outside life seemed glamorous, he was wallowing in nightmares, PTSD, depression. He was depending on a bottle. He had a life no one was seeing. After one of his speeches, actually this was his last speech, he could not finish a sentence. He kept drinking between each word. Without a drink, he could not continue. After he gave that speech, the people were less than bewildered. His boss ordered him to go see the doctor as an order as soon as he gets back home. When he came back home from the tour where he was giving those speeches, Louis met up with one of his old friends. They went to have some good time, and while they were there, he saw a woman. This woman stole his brain. They finally met. It turns out she had read about him and was one of his biggest fans. They became friends with Cynthia Boyles. They started going on different dates. They went for one date, which was a movie night. But as the movie was playing, the movie was about army people, was about soldiers. But as the movie played, Louis's mind moved. It started seeing flashes of the torture he went through in the prison in Japan. He couldn't finish the movie. He moved out, and Cynthia followed suit. They went from that time. They started going on less triggering places like the beach to have their dates. Cynthia understood. Before he went back on the road, he proposed to Cynthia. He didn't want to go without her. The two got married in the childhood church for Cynthia. Cynthia loves church and loves God. So they got married at that church because that was her desire. They began their new life together as a new married couple. They were supported by their family and friends. They got their place. It was a new apartment. It needed so much work. Together they got to eat. They started working to turn this apartment into a home. In the night, as Louis slept, nightmares began again. Louis was seeing the bird torturing him in Japan, wanting to kill him in the dreams. He was in agony, screaming, trying to escape. Nightmares kept increasing. When he had an appointment with the doctor, he would not open up about any of his struggles or the PTSD he's going through. He was on a job hunt, and he thought opening up about this would affect his job hunt. It was not easy for him to get any job. Back home, he was watching running competitions in London, and they kept talking about the Olympics that were coming up in London, calling on anybody to come and sign up. When Cynthia came home from grocery shopping, she almost tripped. The neighbor helped. When the neighbor found out that she's married to Lois, the neighbor knew Lois. Lois was famous in the country, but now he's finding it so hard to get a job. He told Cynthia that he has decided to submit and resume running. He wants to prepare for the London running competition, the Olympics. This made Cynthia very happy. She got him running shoes and started helping with his practice every day to help him get fit again, to be ready for the competitions he was training for. At the family gathering, Lois challenged Pete to a 7-mile run. Everyone gathered to watch the challenge. As they began, it seems like Pete had some sort of a chance, but very soon Lois had it. He made it look so easy, while Pete was struggling to keep up, that he eventually dropped off. As Lois kept running at a speed of light, his ankle twisted, but he kept going until he reached the finish line, but then he broke down. His leg could not hold it anymore. After the first medical examination, Lois felt defeated. He told his wife of all the time he tripped as a child and how he believed it was God doing it, and it seems God is at it again, making him trip and fall like a punishment. He feels like God is punishing him in every corner. When he tries to do something, God makes him fail and fall. He felt like this time round running is something he was born to do, but it seemed to him that God doesn't seem to like that for him either. They met with a couple of friends for a catch-up. One of the friends knew about the things that Lois went through in Japan because he was with him there. And then the other friend he met when the day he met Cynthia. They went into conversation. His friend from war started telling him about the bird and how the bird escaped prison. The bird is wanted in Japan. They started to reminisce. He started to share of the worst things that they experienced and how they want the bird to be imprisoned again. But Lois said prison is too good for him. Lois wanted him dead. He tortured them to the max, and now it was said that he escaped from the prison. That is not something that Lois wanted to hear. He wanted him dead, not just imprisoned. They served them food, but Lois kept seeing moving bugs in the rice that was served, even though they were in a top-notch hotel, and in reality, there were no bugs. But the nightmares kept coming even when he's not sleeping. He kept seeing these bugs moving, and he started screaming and shouting at the restaurant people, asking them why they serve bugs. But everybody was confused because nobody was seeing any bugs in the rice. They left that place. He embarrassed everybody and himself. At the end of the evening, he was drunk. Cynthia took him home. As she was keeping his jacket, she heard there was a key in the jacket. While he slept at the couch, she went to the bedroom and pulled out a box that was underneath their bed. That's a box where Lois kept so much of his stuff. She opened it and she saw pictures of them in the prison in Japan, looking like bones, so thin, and some of the torture that they went through. As Louis slept on the couch, he still had nightmares of himself drowning, the bird shooting at him and torturing him while he does it. They started fighting with Cynthia the next morning over breakfast. Louis does not want to seek help, and Cynthia wants him to get some help. Cynthia wanted to talk to Louis's brother. Louis insisted nobody should know, and Louis didn't want Cynthia to speak to anybody. So Cynthia had to blurt it out that she's pregnant. She's 2 months pregnant, and she's worried and scared because she's seeing a man who is a drunkard, and she cannot take care of a baby and a drunk at the same time. Louis paused and agreed to go see a doctor. The doctor told him the intention of prison guards. Prison can make a person lose his humanity. Louis came home with a hidden bottle of liquor. He did not tell Cynthia about it. Time passed, and finally their baby was born, a cute baby girl. Louis was still struggling to get hired. No jobs yet. His fame got him in the door, but they wanted to hire graduates. He had dropped out of college when he joined the war. His mother was given a check of 100 grand when they thought he had died in war. His mother didn't cash it. When he came back, it's the money he's been using to live on, but he needs a job. He came to pick the last bit of money they had left. He wanted that check too. Asked Cynthia for it. Cynthia inquired what he's going to use it for. He claimed they have an investment that they're going to invest in with his friend so they will make more money. But his friend is one that he had picked in a bar. Cynthia tried to resist, reminding him this is the only money they have left. But they got into a fight. He pulled the bag forcibly from her, threw everything around, and got the check. The two got into a big fight. Cynthia called his brother for help as soon as he left. Brother found him at the bar. He was hopeless and wasting his life away on a bottle, but still refused to get help. His brother tried to convince him that he needs help, but also told him he should not go back home because Cynthia does not want to see him. When Louis refused all the help that his brother was offering, his brother walked away and left him to his bottle. So he drank himself silly, and every time he closed his eyes, he would relieve the torture at the hands of the bird. That night he slept on the streets. He came home in the morning, found Cynthia waiting. She had done all she could do, but can't help him. She wants a divorce. She wants to move back in with her mother, along with the baby. Louis felt like he lived in hell every night. He was now an alcoholic, but not even alcohol would help him shake off his nightmares. That Sunday, as Cynthia was preparing to go to church, she invited him to come along. Louis assured her he has nothing to say to God. God is his enemy. Louis was planning to go to Japan to kill the bird for all he did to them. After his wife and daughter went to church, he also picked up the bottle and went drinking on the road heading somewhere. As soon as he entered the elevator, when the door closed, immediately he started seeing himself drowning in gunshots, screaming for survival while the bird was chasing him underwater. At church, the preacher kept preaching the sermon, and the sermon kept touching Cynthia. She went home, found Louis asleep in a couch having these nightmares. She woke him up, told him of how she loves him and how she will not divorce him. She offered to go with him to the next Billy Graham crusade and begged him to go with her. The two went for the first day of Jesus Saves Conference. The sermon was good. It touched Louis. When they went home, as he had the nightmares, Cynthia was awake. She just kept apologizing, looking at him, soothing him, and praying for him. It seems she was starting to understand the kind of trap that her husband could be in. So she kept praying and hoping he can get through this. They went for the second day of the conference. The preacher poured his heart out, and each word was getting home in Louis's heart. He stormed out during prayer, but the preacher stopped him. When he stopped, he got flash memories of what happened at sea, because the preacher kept preaching, look at the stars and you will see God. So he remembered that when he was at sea, he looked at the stars and asked God to save him. He also saw the bird asking him to look at him. He insisted on looking at God. He refused to look at the bird, And the bird kept shouting and screaming in that vision that Louis was having. He kept saying, "Look at me." And Louis said no. Instead, he turned back, walked to the front, and surrendered his life to Jesus. The next day at home, he was a happy man. He started cleaning and clearing his house, getting all the hidden alcohol that he had in the house, pouring it in the sink and throwing away the bottles. He was so grateful when he looked at his wife and the daughter. Cynthia watched him sleep, and for the first time, he had no nightmares. He started reading the Bible, praying. He became a new man. We are now taken to the scene we opened with, when Louis visited Tokyo in Japan, the prison where the bird was. We went back to that scene when he entered the prison cell to see the prisoners with a reporter. When Louis reached the prison in Japan to meet the bird had escaped. So Louis left a message for him about forgiveness from the Bible, and also left him a Bible, told the guard to give it to him when he turns up. He was the most wanted criminal in Japan at that point. Louis spent some time encouraging the prisoners with the message of forgiveness and assurance in God. They had a revival in the prison cell in Japan. From this movie, I learned that there is no hole too deep that the Lord cannot save you from. Sometimes you may think you are too far gone, but you cannot go farther than where the Lord can pick you. He can always pick you. So if you are going through trauma, depression, PTSD, and other mental challenges, don't do it alone. Seek help and let God in so that He can help you on this journey.